Hello, and welcome to Money Matters TV. My name is Mike Verrill, and I'm the Vice President of Strategic Development with the Sharp Financial Group. We provide a unique process of integrated financial management to help entrepreneurs maximize business value, increase cash flow, reduce tax liability, and create a plan to transition their most valuable asset to long-term family wealth and future legacy. Thank you for joining me for our continuing discussion on growth stories, where we hear from entrepreneurs and advisors who share secrets and advice on what business owners need to know to grow. From time to time, information involving life sciences, technology, or healthcare companies may be discussed on this show. Those discussions are not and should not be viewed as financial advice. Moreover, since the program is pre-recorded and shown at a later date, some of that information may no longer be relevant. You should always seek advice from your financial advisor before entering into any financial transaction. I'm joined today by my co-host, Rija Bears. Rija is a vice president with the global real estate consulting firm, CBRE. She has spent the last 15 years providing research and consulting to corporate occupiers of real estate. Rija also heads up the media and technology practices in Philadelphia, where she provides real estate strategies to help high-growth companies meet their business objectives. Rija also serves on the program and outreach committees for Tech Girls, an organization that helps focus middle school age girls on careers in technology. Rija, as always, it's great to see you. How have you been?
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here.
So I was just curious, a lot going on in the economic markets these days, and I was wondering how that was impacting the real estate business. Can you give us a sense of kind of some of the things you're working on? Is it renewals, expansions? What projects do you have going on right now?
Sure. So I think the key right now is that everyone's very focused on talent acquisition as well as flexibility. So we are having a ton of conversations regarding agile workspace, the ability to scale up and down. It's really this on-demand society at this point. So while the renewals are still prevalent, what we see is that if people are renewing, they're putting a lot of money into their space to be able to either scale up or scale down if they're acquiring more talent and more employees in the space. Or there's a major driver which is forcing them to move. Either they don't have enough space, they have too much space, or they need to move their locations to attract that talent that we're talking about.
Interesting. How are the landlords reacting to that? Obviously, landlords want less change with longer terms. So how are they balancing that?
Yeah, it really depends on which markets we're in. There are some high growth, very low vacancy markets, and the landlords there are still demanding the longer terms. Lower tenant improvement and concession packages. But when you get into some of the alternative submarkets, during the downturn there were some special servicing and foreclosure activities, and those landlords that are coming in, they bought at a very low basis, and they're willing to make some concessions and do the shorter term deals as long as there's not a lot of capital required.
Interesting. Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on that. I always see real estate as a definite indicator of what's going on economically.
Absolutely.
Before we introduce our guests, we have a question from one of our viewers.
Okay.
Gail Jenkins from Philadelphia would like to know, how do ethics work into real estate transactions?
Sure, and that's a great question, Gail. All folks that are engaged in real estate activities have to have a Pennsylvania or any state real estate license. And when they have these licenses, one of the major topics to gain the license is ethics in real estate. From there, we have continuing education, where ethics is about a 3-hour component of that every other year. And then working for a full-service, publicly traded real estate company, CBRE takes ethics very seriously, and all of our employees have to go through annual training and compliance for ethics.
Wow, that's great to hear. Hopefully that was helpful, Gail. It's always great to hear from our viewers, and to submit for a future show, here's how to send your questions to Money Matters TV.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says Send Us Your Questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our hosts and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address again is money, MONEY, -matters, MATTERS, TV.com.
A financial need can be the driver for innovation and success, and losing a parent at a young age can be difficult. But when this entrepreneur is left with a family business and to build that business up to help support his mother financially, he sees an opportunity to take a low-tech business and turn it into a technology leader. We're pleased to introduce our guest today, Jeff Cooper, who is the CEO of Expo Logic. Jeff, Rija and I are happy to have you here today. Join us on Money Matters in our segment on growth stories. Before we get started talking to you about the business and how you got there, can you give us an overview of Expo Logic and tell us a little bit more about the company?
Sure, Mike. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us. So Expo Logic is a full-service trade show registration company. We're contracted mostly by associations, some corporate events to build websites so their attendees can register online to attend the event. And then we go on site and get people checked in, print their badges, tickets, and provide other technology services around the event.
That's great.
Thanks for being here, Jeff. One of the questions that, and Mike mentioned this in the introduction, is that you had to take over the family business for your father early on. Was that always your plan?
No, not at all. So I went to college in the hopes of becoming a physician. So I was a biology major. My father asked me to double major in business, so that was fun. So I was double majoring in bio and business. I really enjoyed the bio, and honestly, the business was probably the tougher of the two for me. During my junior year at school, my brother, who was working for my father at the time, called me and said that our father wasn't doing well. He was having some health issues, and thought it'd be best if I come in and help out after I graduate. So I had a feeling I was probably going to be spending more time than what my brother was selling to me in the family business there, I'd actually dropped both majors. I had taken a psychology elective, which I really enjoyed. The professor was very engaging, and I just wanted to sort of coast the rest of my junior and senior year. And when I say coast, it's coasting when you really love it, when you love the topics, you like going to class, and I felt that way about psychology. So it was fun doing that. I went into my family business to help out, and I was ready for a challenge and roll my sleeves up. But I was put in the warehouse and worked every single position within the company. But starting in the warehouse, and I was there really for almost 2 years. At which point my father ended up passing away, and then I knew this was going to be my career moving forward.
Wow. Well, two things from that. First of all, I think that psychology should always be at least a minor in every business degree that you get, because at the end of the day, it's the people behind the business decisions that you make to make it work or not work, right? And the second thing is, my experience has been that the best way to learn any business is to start from the ground up.
Yeah.
Right? I think sometimes you've seen that, somebody comes in, they get the big fancy degree, and they come into the family business and they don't know anything about the way it works, and they fall flat on their face.
Right. And I totally agree, and I appreciate the time I spent in all these different different positions within the company, because it gives me great perspective, not only to relate to the employees that are in the different positions within the company, but also as I think forward and think about process. I know where all the dots connect and how they connect. So it's been very helpful.
So that was a pretty significant role to kind of be thrust into. Coming out of college, I think you realize, like you said, your brother he was only a short-term solution. He wasn't going to be there to really partner with you long-term. What are some of the things in your background, your childhood and your youth, you think got you ready to be able to take on that role?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't. And so looking back, I can pinpoint it to a few different things. I don't know if I ever could have been prepared
Completely.
completely for it. So one is I really enjoy solving problems, and I think I'm pretty creative in problem solving, and I like understanding how things work and making them work better. I was always the fixer in the house, right? And whether it needed to be fixed or not, so I like taking things apart and putting it back together, and occasionally I'd break things, but
They
that's
need
okay.
to be fixed after you got done.
Yeah,
Fix them.
and breaking something and then fixing it was seemed to be a theme later on
Right.
in my life, my career. So it was really helpful in that regard.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's great. Did you think that you could be an entrepreneur? Were you hesitant?
I didn't even know what entrepreneur meant, honestly. I didn't know what that was, and I was very focused on, when my father passed away, just understanding what to do next and asking questions. I'm not scared to ask questions, and from the time I entered the business to the time he passed, I was pretty much in the warehouse, so I wasn't learning the business. I wasn't by his side, having him teach me, show me the ropes, which maybe it was a better thing because it allowed me to take, to just get my own perspective and go from my own experiences.
Right.
So I opened up the drawers in his desks. I opened up QuickBooks and started digging and asking questions. Why are we doing this? Or shouldn't this envelope be opened? Or so. And I found a lot of skeletons in the closet. There were some good things, but there were a lot of things that needed some attention. There were tax issues. There were vendors that weren't being paid. But from the outside looking in, I really didn't know that.
Yeah.
It seemed like the company was doing well.
Right.
My dad drove a nice car. The employees drove a nice car. So, but that wasn't the case. So. And I think the biggest thing was really this tax issue that I had to deal with, and I went right to the IRS, and I think I was 25 and knocked on their door and told them, this is the situation I'm in. This is what I fell into, and they said, it's a great thing that you came to us, and it really was, because they put me on a plan. They didn't know penalties and it was from there. I'm like, God, that's got to be one of the larger situation or problems I'm going to face. Everything else will be easy.
Right.
It wasn't quite as easy, but
Not as quite
but it
as
gave me
you
some
hoped,
confidence that I could.
Well, 25 to
figure
go
this out.
knock on the door of the IRS, that says something, right?
Yeah, usually you don't want to go towards
Right.
the IRS in that situation,
Right.
right? But it turned
Exactly.
out well.
Yep, sure did.
Yeah, that's great. And when you got into the business, everything was a little bit low tech, right? You were printing badges, you were using the fax machine,
Yeah.
you had this tax issue. Was there anything else that you discovered at that point and that you needed to deal with other than the taxes?
Yeah, well, so the fax machine, that was our IT department. So, it's funny, our largest department back then was made up of data entry, folks doing data entry.
Okay.
When you would register for an event back in 1995, 6, 7, you would fill out a form and either mail or fax it in, and we'd have bins of these registration forms, and that's how we know if we would know if we were busy or not, because how full are these bins of registration forms.
Oh, wow.
And we did have a micro computer system for entering these forms into. But there was no online registration at the time, and we just started using email, and I realized I better start figuring out these computers. I wasn't really drawn to computers when I was younger. I didn't take a computer class in college, but I would jump right in. So the first thing I did was I sat in front of the PC and I started playing around with it, and we had a contract programmer come into the office one day, and he saw me getting frustrated on the computer, and he said, "What are you trying to do?" And I was just at a DOS prompt, if you remember DOS
Yeah,
prompt.
sure.
Yeah, and I was telling him, I just want to change directories or move, and I couldn't understand the syntax, and he just took a piece of paper and drew out a file structure on a piece of paper, and it just all clicked for me. It made sense, and I loved it, and I started getting into it, and started thinking about how to connect those dots, and got really passionate about leveraging technology and being one of the first, at least one of the first companies of my competitors to go online with the registration process.
Wow, so that really put you out in front of the competitors.
It
Did
did.
that feel scary or risky at all, or you just knew that was the right thing to do?
I'll tell you, it was sort of uncharted territory because the customers, our associate, they didn't know what to expect.
Right.
Right, the internet was new for everyone.
They weren't using technology either, probably.
Exactly. Right? So if we said, well, okay, it's going to take about a month. Okay, there's no point of reference there.
Right.
Now they say, can it be ready by the end of the day?
Yeah, exactly. In an hour.
Yeah, exactly. And that's sort of the danger of technology and this on-demand society, as you're
Yeah.
talking about. They want it's on-demand gratification.
Right.
And can you just put a button there? Okay, but what
There's
does that
like
button need to do?
17 steps
Right.
behind putting that button there, or if you can even do it at all. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And that seems like almost the pivot point when you fell in love with the technology. Did you go 2 feet in at that point and just decide to take everything over to technology and fully engage, or was it sort of an iterative process?
I did. I actually went to my mother and asked her if she would loan the company some money to invest in technology, so to invest in equipment, and the stuff that we had was really old, and I mapped out a plan how we're going to pay her back, and it worked out. So
Angel investor, right?
Yeah, she was
Right.
my angel investor. So
Before there was such a thing.
right, right, and it wasn't just. I continued to outsource the development of our applications to really one guy, and it was a side job for him, and nice to meet him at the office at 2 a.m. and and I'd bring Chinese food, and that was the deal. Chinese food and cash, and, and I'd have some new software in the morning.
That's funny.
Yeah, but
so he
now
was programmer by day and doing your work by night.
Yep.
For some Chinese
Yeah.
food to keep him
Exactly.
going.
Start of the contract worker.
Absolutely. And but what was a really valuable learning experience for me was I'd be sitting there with him, looking over his shoulder, and he'd be debugging something, and I would start to point things out. I'm like, well, maybe we should look over here, or maybe this is why it's not working, even though I didn't know how to program, but I understood the logic behind it.
Right.
And he would say, oh, you're right. And I would start solving these problems in code, and then I got the, no pun intended, but the bug for that.
Right.
So
where did that take you? So what
yes.
was that jumping off point?
So I started first looking at the code that we had, and if there were any bugs or wanted to change some minor things, I would try doing it myself. And I started getting good at that, and being able to debug things quickly, and then I jumped into started writing applications myself. Now I'm not a good developer by any stretch, but what that did for me was it gave me the ability to sell, because I understood how much time and effort would go into developing applications or adding a feature. And
that was that becoming part of your business. It was not only getting the clients on the technology, but then changing and customizing the technology to meet their needs.
Exactly, particularly with the associations, which have a membership component. So we would have to integrate our process with their process. So if you're registering to attend an event, could be in the real estate industry, right?
Sure.
So you might be a member of a real estate association and get member pricing based on your membership. So we'd have to tap into their system, the association system, to verify membership and pull that information into the registration process. So now we integrate with over 40 different platforms for that type of authentication or verification.
And for the most part, for a long period of time, the platform you had was all custom built, right?
Yes.
But there was a period of time when you actually looked to try to better that platform by going out to an outside third party. Is that
Right, and so this is one of a few big mistakes I've made along the way, but the lesson was even greater. So I saw that as more and more, as technology became more prevalent and the expectations grew, and we would have to turn features around faster and adopt newer technologies faster, it was tough to keep up. So I would hire more and more developers, and we were working more on customizations. So I made a decision to identify a third-party platform that we could just leverage, become experts in that platform, let them worry about further developing it, and we'll just deploy it. So I did that, and we moved all of our clients off of our platform into this third-party platform. And it was great. It had all these new features and functionality until their servers went down. So servers go down, I get that.
right?
But we had no control. We were completely, and our clients were calling us, not them.
Right. Clients don't care.
They
how
don't
they're
care.
getting-
Right, the
Right.
buck
So
stops with
what's
you.
going on? When will it be fixed? Hold on, let me call these guys and find out when
Right.
it's going to be fixed. And it was
Don't
just,
know.
it was the worst 48 hours of my life.
Oh,
Probably. It was
wow.
really tough, but
Did you lose customers because of
lost
that?
customers, lost trust from even
Yeah.
the customers that stuck with me.
Mhm.
And I didn't lose most customers. I
Right.
lost some big
Yeah,
clients,
few,
and I understood. I didn't
Right.
blame them.
Right.
Yeah.
But we migrated everyone back onto our platform, and I learned that I need, if I'm going to be delivering service and putting my name on it, I have to have control over it. And so it was a good lesson, and now I know for any other product or service that we deliver in the future that I'll remember that lesson.
Right.
And
Now, will you ever look to a third party again, or just make sure that the stop safes are in place?
I will, and I think to work with third-party companies and partners is great. But I wouldn't make my entire business
Not
hinge on
core.
it. Yeah, not the core
Yeah.
piece of it. So there might be some, for example, we process payments through our system. Well, I'm not going to develop my own payment gateway. I'll work with PayPal or one of the big
Right.
online payment gateways.
Right.
So I'm happy to plug different features in from third parties, but as you said, the core has got to be within our control.
Gotcha.
Great. That's great. And as you've grown your business, it sounds like in the conversations we've had that culture and being able to bring on good employees and stay nimble as you grow is important. How have you done that?
Yeah, so just like I didn't know what entrepreneur meant when I started, I didn't know what culture was.
Yeah.
Really not until about 10 years ago. And we had a culture, but it wasn't intentional.
Right.
And every company has a culture.
Sure.
And the culture is made up of, not only the leadership, but everyone in the company, and it's making the right hires and putting people in the right position, and then really putting them in a position where they can be passionate about what they do. So you can have someone who's really good at answering the phone, but if they don't like answering the phone, they shouldn't be doing it, right? So I tried to focus on putting people in positions where they enjoy what they're doing, and showing my appreciation for them in different ways. So a bonus or raise could be, everyone loves that, but that doesn't always feel as good as appreciation in other ways. Being honored in front of your peers, that can feel really good to someone. And just saying thank you. So every week we have a company huddle. So we have our office is based here in we're just outside Philadelphia, but we have an office in North Carolina. We have a team in Belgium, and everyone joins this company huddle either in person or through video conferencing. And there's a segment in our huddles where we show appreciation to each other.
That's great.
Right. So I just want to thank Rija for helping with this big project, and or Mike, great job on you saved the day when I was sick, and you stepped in, and
anybody can say that about anybody else. It doesn't
exactly.
have to matter who you report to. It could be somebody you report to or somebody that reports to you.
Yeah, it's showing just appreciate, and you feel to feel. That's when the workplace becomes a family.
Right.
And for the size team that I have, so we're about 50 in the U.S. It feels like a family, and that was one of my biggest concerns as we grew. Is it not going to feel like a small family business, which I liked, and it still feels that way, at least at 50. So which is great.
That is
Was
great.
it hard, or were there things you had to think about when integrating the culture from the Belgian office into that, or was that just a natural progression?
Yeah, well, so it's two different types of cultures, but the culture that we were just talking about, it was perfect because we just blended very nicely.
So that was a matter, they're looking for the same thing regardless of their.
Yeah, I think the leadership over there, we were already on the same page that the company's greatest assets, it's not the software or the technology, or even the service that we provide. It's the people. That's what great people make great companies.
That's right.
And we shared that.
So people were looking for recognition and support and all of that, no matter where they are.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Same.
So really, and where we fall short on blending those cultures is really I use expressions and analogies all the time that are just geocentric. It does not translate. So sometimes we're not on the same page. Like shooting fish in a barrel, they don't say that over there.
They need a little handbook to Jeff's colloquialism.
Exactly.
Sort of what do they mean?
You got it.
Yeah, that's great.
That is great.
What talk about your business next? Where does it go from here? I mean, you've transformed this. We talked about this Lowtech business into a technology business. Are you still a services business in the expo space using technology, or are you a technology company?
Yeah. Who are we? And that's what we sort of ask ourselves. Right today, we are a tech-enabled service company. Which is great, but it's difficult to scale. And as we grow, we need to be able to scale. So we are developing and changing our existing software to be more scalable, in that our customers will be more self-sufficient in using our platform. And we're building new systems where it's completely self-sufficient, where you sign up online and you build out your own event and manage the process yourself. So. Right now, most of our clients they put on larger events. The largest being 150,000 people. On the smaller scale, it's 1,000 people. But with this new platform that we're developing, it could be a 20-person family reunion.
Wow.
To a 50,000.
That's amazing, and the story's still to be written, right?
It is.
This has been great, Jeff. The time has gone so quickly. Thank you, Rija. I would like to thank Jeff and Rija for being here with me today. The next guest on Money Matters TV is Jim McGrory, a CPA with Drucker and Scicchetti. And as a reminder, you can download the podcast from iTunes and Stitcher, and you can also see our programs on our YouTube channel, Money Matters TV. Thank you for joining us for Growth Stories.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.